Hello my dear students of class 10 and SSC examinee. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the online class today from different topics. This is Ruxana Parveen, Senior Lecturer, Department of Biology, Milestone College. Welcome you to the online class today. In today's discussion, I'll try to reveal some facts about CQs and MCQs, especially from board standards, and I will try to show the specific pattern or most granted pattern or acceptable patterns to answer CQs effectively. Number 2, we will learn the time management and how to answer all the questions within the time limits. Then we may learn some techniques by the answering patterns, how to impress the examiners. In any CQ, most of the students think about the pattern, specific tools or techniques to get 3 out of 3 or 4 out of 4. That's really complex in most of the times to understand the specific pattern. However, let me tell you very clearly that there is no specific pattern or no specific rules to answer the questions. But you must remember that according to the STEM, you have to extract the exact clue how to start your answer. In case of 1 and 2 standard questions like what is something like what is placenta, what is reproduction or flower, etc., you know how to answer. It's better to put an example with the definition. You will get one easily. What about B or comprehensive type of questions? Suppose it is written that what is meant by the cell pollination, right? For example, so you must remember that there would be 2 specific segments. It is preferable to produce 2 paragraphs at a time. First paragraph will include the definition, what is cell pollination. You write the definition, and in the next paragraph you will put some sort of extension, right? Like in case of cell pollination, you may put some examples, or you may just have sort of benefits or drawbacks over there, so you can get 2 out of 2. That means the comprehensive question means just it's not about the answering the definition or knowledge. You have to focus that you know a little bit more, right? In case of C, what happens? Some questions come directly like explain the structure of some X, Y or Z, or A, B or C, something like putting focus on the stems, indications. In this case, in case of C, there are 3 segments. First segment is introduction. That here you can put the basic introduction with the stem. Like you may make some synonymous sentences or sort of paraphrasing of the sentences which are focusing in the sentence of the stem, right? Suppose it's indicating the structure of placenta or the structure of the flower or typical flower, right? So in case of this question, you must start with the introduction first. According to the stem, this one, the stem denotes or stem is indicating the structure of this one, right? This is the basic format. Then you may put the definition. This is very easy format. And next you will write the structure of these are stated below within the points or discussed in brief. Then you may put some points like 1, 2, 3 or 4. It is preferable to me, it's preferable to put the Roman numbers, not the English number, okay? So that's the body paragraph. That means segment 1 is introduction, segment 2 is putting the basic answer, like the body paragraphs, concluding paragraph would be the third segment, okay? What would you write in case of conclusion? Put some special thing about the stem or about the subject you are discussing. For example, you are discussing the structure of flower. You have put all the structures of flower over there, but you are confused that what should we do in case of conclusion. That's the main question. Here you may put the basic importance, just 1 or 2 functions of flower or importance, or emphasize the significance of that thing or of that organ of the plant, right? Suppose for a flower we can produce like flower is the principal organ for sexual reproduction, which contains endoecium or gynoecium, or which contains male or female gametes altogether or separately, right? Plants to plants it varies, of course, without which plants reproduction, especially the sexual reproduction, would not be possible. That's a very easy thing, right? Yes, I know that you could understand. What about the standard question? Yes, analyzing, right? Here, in case of analyzing question, you must remember there will be the 4 segments. The first segment would contain the introductory paragraph. What is the introductory paragraph in case of this sort of questions, high skill level question? Yes, first, obviously, you have to introduce the examiner or the overall writing patterns, what you are attempting to write with the stem. Here, I would suggest you to go for direct question that according to the stem, the X, P or Q is or are indicating to blah blah blah. That means what would be the subject? You know better, right? You just know better that how you do answer. It might be mitochondria or plastid, or maybe flower or brain or heart maybe or blood. Whatever it is, you just make your mind that I have to introduce myself or the examiner or the whole writing with the stem patterns, right? So here first segment would contain the introductory paragraph, which includes everything about introduction I have told before, which is also applicable for the application based question, and you will indicate what you are going to write, right? So the 3 paragraphs or segments are left. So here the second paragraph would be the body paragraph. The question might be to analyze the roles or importance of reproductive hormone, for example. In case of this one, you have to elaborate what is reproductive hormone, what are they, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, make a list on there. So you have completed the second one. That means you will get 1 tick, 1 mark for the introductory paragraph. Second, you have the analyzing capacity or the comprehensive capacity, you are focusing that, so you will get the next mark, that is 2. What about the 3? Right, the third paragraph would be the elaboration or bit elaboration of the second paragraph. That means you put the list of the hormones. Here you are just writing the principal functions or roles of that specific hormones, right? And here you are putting the examples of growth hormone, prolactin hormone, then ADH hormone, or even reproductive hormones, etc. You may put 5 or 6 paragraphs or points in this third segment. It is not only limited to paragraphing. Okay, you have to bear in mind that 4 segments must be there. Then you got 3 out of 4. What about the 4th paragraph? Here you have to put the most of your capacity of the writing and understanding level, right? Here you might say, for example, if I would be the student, I just like in the examination condition, and I had to write that. To conclude or overall, from the aforesaid discussion, it is clear that the hormones or biochemical substances which have significant effects on overall development of even gametes, formation of embryo, development of fetus with the perfect structure and functions, and obviously it has also roles in abnormalities, right? So abnormalities is the critical thing which may not be accepted or for some issues, but here I must say that you should put this negative sides too. It's not only positive. Bit of imbalance of hormones might affect on overall development of the fetus, right? That's how you can end up the 4th standard question, right? 50 marks questions, 50 marks for your overall answering, and you will have on an average 25 minutes, right? Only 25 minutes each question answering, right? So at first you need to choose. You already know that how to choose the questions to answer effectively. Okay, here you might have 1 to 2 minutes for answering A standard question, B 2 to 3 minutes to answer B standard question or 2 standard questions, and for C 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, and number 4, that means the 4 standard question, you might utilize highest 12 minutes. Okay, that's my personal suggestion, and that is really effective in most of the cases because you are gonna conserve lots of time. Okay, suppose you have practiced a lot at the home and you conclude with the decision that you are taking the highest level of time. You see 22 minutes and 27 minutes in total, right? 27 minutes. So 12, 10, 22 and 5, 27 minutes. So 27 minutes, within this time you can cover up the whole answer for one creative or one CQ. In total you are saving 3 minutes per question. 3 5s are 15 minutes are your bonus time, 15 minutes. So these 15 minutes you should utilize in revising the overall writing. That is the most important portion. Okay, so now I am gonna show you some answer patterns via Word file. Okay, you can make some notes or you can just follow the instructions. That's how I don't want you to just restrict you in specific answering pattern. You can apply this knowledge and you can be creative in answering creative questions. So my dear students, let's see. Here is the first creative question, and the stem denotes that N, that means haploid, and N, that means also haploid, with the process P forms twice N, which is very clear that these two haploid gametes altogether form the zygote, that is diploid with the help of P. So at first the students have to know that what the stem is actually indicating to write, right? So the P is fertilization. You all know about this. What is sporogenesis? What is meant by essential whorl? Explain how the process P as mentioned in the stem, and D, analyze the significance of process P in the continuation of plant's life. We may add lots more variation with the same question too. Okay, here are some sample answers. I have tried to make it. You can add more and more options at your book, and you can achieve any kind of skill to apply in this answer. So at first, what is sporogenesis? The very formal answer is the sporogenesis is the production of spores or haploid gametes in sexually reproducing organisms. The term is also used to refer to the process of reproduction via spores. Here is a note that reproductive spores were found to be formed in eukaryotic organisms only, not in the prokaryotic organisms. The eukaryotic organisms examples are plants during their normal reproductive life cycle produce male and female gametes to go for sexual reproduction. In plants, they also pursue asexual reproduction though. However, that's only the note to get the more knowledge. Well, the second question is, what is meant by essential whorl? The essential whorls of a flower are endoecium and gynoecium, which are arranged from outer to inner region of the flower. They are called so because they are necessary for sexual reproduction. Endoecium is the male reproductive part of a flower from which stamens produce the male gametes, and gynoecium is the female reproductive part of a flower from where female gametes are produced, right? So here is the C or application based question. As I have told you just before that, in case of describing C standard question or application based question, you have to just make a mind to form three standard or three steps, right, or three segments. The first segment is to introduce the whole concept to the stem first. So let's see how to introduce. That's just the sample attempt, okay. So here, according to the stem, P part of the stem is indicating the fertilization process. It's the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete. Once the pollen grains settle on the stigma of the flower, they form pollen tube. The pollen tube grows towards the ovary through style. Once the pollen tube reaches the ovary, its tip dissolves to release the pollen grain. At the second step, you are totally independent to put any diagram or whatever is your stem is indicating to, you can put the diagram, okay, based on the demand. So I prefer to put the diagram over there to show the process of reproduction. Though due to shortage of time, you may skip this too. But in the final exam, if they ask you to draw this diagram, you have to do that, okay. So here you can see this is the pollen grain. After fertilization, it settles down on the tip of the stigma, and here is the style through which a pollen tube is formed, and through this tube you see two sperm cells or the male gametes travel through the tube towards the ovum, the mature egg or ovum, right? And the final destiny is to fertilize, okay, with the help of the male gamete and female gametes. Zygote is to produce in future. So here is the whole embryo sac, you already know, and these are the two polar nuclei or secondary nuclei, okay. So this is the simplest diagram, and you must put the figure of the diagram over there. Well, here is the gradual steps of fertilization, okay. Number 1, the process of fusion of male gamete with the egg along with the union of the second male gamete with the two polar nuclei or the secondary nuclei is called double fertilization, okay. You may pause the video and you can write a note over there. However, the second point indicates that out of the two male gametes, one fuses with the egg to carry out generative fertilization or syngamy. It gives rise to a diploid zygote. Number 3, the nucleus of the second male gamete fuses with the two haploid polar nuclei or diploid secondary nuclei of the central cell to form a triploid primary endosperm or PEN, or the whole form is primary endospermic nucleus. The central cell is called the primary endosperm or PEC. That is called the vegetative fertilization or triple fusion. Here is the overall diagram of the alternation of gametophytic and sporophytic stages in flowering plants. Remember, my dear students, that's not the part of the previous question answering. That means C, that is the process of fertilization. You have to just make a mind to apply the whole knowledge to any sort of creative question. So if you understand the whole figure, you can understand everything. That means importance of fertilization or the process of fertilization, the post-fertilization development and so on, right? That's the flower, From the flower you can see the zoom diagram is showing the ovule, okay? From where by different development, stages, what is formed? The mature egg nucleus is formed inside the embryo sac, right? From where after fertilization zygote is formed and secondary nuclei turned into the triploid endosperm, right? Gradually they turn into a seed coat, and after germinating and penetrating the seed coat, the embryo emerges out as a plantlet. That's the plantlet, and after maturity, flowering occurs. That's the overall idea, basic idea. What about the anther? From the flower, from this portion, anther turn into the mature male gametophyte, which after fertilization initiates the the overall development process after fertilization. So here is the overall process of microsporogenesis, right? We will know the detail about this in the next slide. However, that's the overall life cycle of a cherry tree or typical flowering plant, or showing the alternation of generations, right? So you can have a screenshot over there, and you can make your own note by following this diagram, right? So here is the another basic diagram. You may follow this one too, for showing the alternation of generation. As you see, one generation is the sporophytic stage, another is the gametophytic stage. So that we can answer the standard question or higher skilled related question for answering the alternation of generation. You may have the screenshot over there too, to write or get the detailed data about the answer. Analyze the significance of the process P in the continuation of plant's life. As I have indicated before that in case of this standard question or skill based question, you need to answer in different ways, not as just you started answer the process or drew the diagram or something else. It's bit complicated, not actually complicated, it bits complex. So let's get started with the principal format what I suggest my students to follow. At first, we may start with, according to the stem, P marked process is of fertilization process, which is the prerequisite of continuing the life cycle and further developments. However, flowers play a significant role as they are the reproductive structures of angiosperms. That means the flowering plants. The method of fertilization in plants occurs when gametes in haploid conditions fuse to produce a diploid zygote, which is the trigger point of life. That's how you can finish up the first segment. There are 4 segments, right? The process of fertilization helps to restore the total number of chromosomes in the organisms. The zygote develops to form a new individual, which is necessary for the continuation of the species. It creates genetic variation and helps to maintain biodiversity. Some principal roles played by the fertilization are stated below. So let's see what are the principal significance of fertilization. You may add more notes with the information. So following are the main significance of fertilization. Number 1, the haploid form of 2 gametes are transformed into a diploid form of zygote, which is the first stage of saprophytic stage. Next, I have mentioned that the zygote is the first stage of saprophytic stage, and this is very important. Number 3, the ovules are converted into seeds. The fertilized ovule goes on to form a seed, which contains a food store, which is called the endosperm, diploid angiosperm, and the embryo that will later grow into a new plant. Next point is the ovary is turned into fruit. The ovary develops into fruit to protect the seed. Some flowers, such as avocados, only have one ovule and inside the only one ovary. So their fruit only has one seed. The seeds formed by the fertilization protect the generations of plants. Thus, it is noticed that seeds and fruits are formed due to fertilization. And lastly, seeds and fruits formed due to fertilization, which are used as food for the animal kingdom. For example, corn, rice, wheat, beans, everything we eat, they are mostly formed of the endosperm. So it is obviously supplying the food and energy to the animal kingdom too. We can add more 3 points like fertilization ensures ensures the diploid condition of the organisms by fusion of haploid male and female gametes. And fertilization process increases the metabolic activities and the rate of protein synthesis of the egg. And fertilization initiates embryogenesis, that is after the sowing of the seeds and after the development inside the embryo, the new plantlets are formed. Without fertilization it was totally impossible. To conclude, we may make the last segment by the conclusion. Okay, to conclude, it ensures the diploid condition of the organism by the fusion of haploid male and female gametes. The main advantage present in the double fertilization of angiosperms is energy conservation. The endosperm formed by the fusion of the two polar nuclei and a sperm only begins to develop and store nutrients after it has been fertilized by a sperm cell. It provides new genetic constitution to the zygote. It increases the metabolic activities. It accelerates, and also it accelerates the rate of protein synthesis in the egg. Okay, the second creative question states that the biology teacher, while discussing about the embryonic development in humans, told that some biochemical substances play significant roles in the overall fetal development. Well, there is the sample answer. What is placenta? Question. Here is the answer. Let's focus on the overall answer, like differences between self and cross pollination. Next one, explain the embryonic development in humans. According to the STEM, the development of human embryo is a gradual and complex process. It involves hormonal actions, overall metabolic effects, and change in mental status. However, in humans, the embryo begins to develop about 4 days after an egg is fertilized. Appearing initially as a tiny mass of cells, it eventually gives rise to the fetus, an obvious human form. The major occurrences are, okay, here I need to pause for some moments that what did I do? I have put the initial or the introductory topic for answering standard question or application based question. Here your examiner could extract your overall capacity, right? So let's go. What is waiting ahead? Here is the diagram. You may apply this diagram in the answer if you have enough time left, right? For standard question, if you are to answer only description, you don't need to put the diagram. But if they ask that, you have to explain with diagram, right? So the next question is this standard question, which is of 4 marks you will get if you can answer properly. Significance of the chemical substances, that is the reproductive hormones in embryonic development. Well, according to the STEM, the chemical substances are none other than the reproductive hormones, which have individually significant roles in human fetal development. Some of the hormones roles are stated below. This is the last and fourth segment. It can be said that they help to develop and maintain female sex characteristics and play important roles in menstrual cycle, fertility and pregnancy. In case of male reproductive hormones such as testosterone, help development and maintain male sex characteristics and help make sperms in the testes. It's to be noted that a bit of imbalance of the secretion of these biochemical substances or hormones could create a massive disaster in the overall development or even create serious disorders, right, such as infertility or even the immaturity in the brain or overall development of the fetus body. The homeworks would be practice as much as possible on CQs and MCQs from board questions and important schools or different schools, okay? And you have to test yourself at home within this time limit I have shown you, right? And you have to check the answers yourself, or you may seek help from your specific teacher, okay? So thank you very much. Stay safe and fine. Allah Hafiz.